Greetings fellow Whovians and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. My review of the Black Guardian trilogy continues with the 5th Doctor story Terminus, originally broadcast on BBC One in February 1983. Just in case you don't know the plot, Turlough, still under the influence of the Black Guardian, sabotages the TARDIS, forcing it to land on a ship called Terminus, located in the centre of the known universe. Not only does the Doctor have to try and get back to his TARDIS, he has to contend with space pirates, a crew that has been infected by a deadly disease which has also affected poor Nissa, and a ship which could cause the second biggest explosion in the universe. I'm going to start this review by talking about Turlough and Mark Strickson's performance. I really enjoyed his performance, especially his interactions with Tegan. Obviously, he's having to deal with trying to get Tegan on side, obviously having to play the sort of the happy companion, but also being influenced heavily by the Black Guardian to kill the Doctor. And yeah, really was impressed by Mark's performance in this story. Like I said, he didn't have like lots of time to shine. He had to share that with a lot of other characters for this story. But again, the interactions with Turlough and Tegan, they were kind of like the highlight of his performance. And to be fair, one of the highlights for this story. I still find this character fascinating, and I do think they got the balance quite well. Because really, if you think about it, you've got to either, like I said, it's a fine balance, because it's either going to make the Doctor look really stupid, just trusting this boy that he barely knows, or it's going to make Turlough look more incompetent, which is not a good idea when you're trying to introduce a new character for the show. So I do think Mark really does do a good job in balancing or continuing that balancing act of being this traitor or friend to the Doctor. I do think how they managed to split up the TARDIS crew is a really strong point for this story. You got Tegan and Turlough in the underbelly of Terminus, obviously trying to build up their own relationship, and they do have some laughs and jokes along the way, even though they nearly get killed off, as well as Turlough's moral dilemma of speaking to Tegan and saying, "Oh, if you got a secret and you have to kill someone, would you do it for your own personal gains?" That was kind of the highlight between that conversation relationship between Tegan and Turlough. You've also got Nissa doing her own thing, and then you've got the Doctor contending with the space pirates. And quickly speaking about the space pirates, you can tell we're in full 80s Doctor Who as we come up to Terminus and this adventure, because wow, I mean, those costumes, that is, if you're thinking space pirates as in ARG, oh no, we've got full on glam rock 70s tribute band going off. The hair, those helmets, everyone sort of picks about the crew's sort of skeletal uniform that protects them from radiation. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit far-fetched, but nothing as far-fetched as those glam rock space pirate suits. Worn very well, most notably by Lisa Goddard as well. If you are a big fan of hers, and give us a clue back in the 80s. To talk about though is the Garm. Writer Steve Gallagher, who said in the DVD documentary that he wasn't expecting a fully made costume for this anamorphic creature. He was wanting basically something that hides in the shadows, and you just see its glaring red eyes, and maybe just a claw or an arm coming out from the shadows when needed. But no, a fully built costume was made for actor RJ Bell, who, happy birthday by the way, his birthday was a few weeks ago at the time of recording, to go around in this suit. And yeah, I've not quite sure how to sort of what my sort of total opinion is on the Garm, because I really liked it. I thought it was a pretty good made costume for 80s Who. With the glowing red eyes, I thought that was quite impressive. The voice didn't do it for me though, because you can barely understand what it was saying. It kind of made the Garm a bit too simple. in its delivery. It's sort of like, oh, I just couldn't understand what he was saying. So with my opinions mixed, I thought I'll ask everyone on Facebook land and you, my fellow Whovians, what's your thoughts are on the Garms. And here is the comments so far. So we've had, looks a bit like it's a part Airedale Irish Wolfhound and a touch of West Highland Terrier. Yeah, I can see that. Another comment said, woof woof here, boy. Yeah, fair enough. And woof, of course, Lisa Goddard. Woof. Hey. So what was the other ones? It looks like a bits of a recycled Crag costume from Sharda. Looked like it was cheap, tacky and unimaginative, but to be fair, the budget was possibly about £4.50 and the job given to some poor lad on his 3 weeks Project Trident work experience. Harsh, but yeah, maybe fair. I quite liked it. The space pirate costumes, however, are atrocious. Absolutely, totally agree with you. We've already covered that one. More to the question, why did Nissa take her skirt off? Okay, whilst we're here, let's talk about Nissa and that skirt scene. So the skirt scene was just weird for me. I remember watching this for the first time a good few years ago. I was basically binge watching a full-on Doctor Who journey. So like only like a few days ago, I saw Nissa in her, sweet innocent Nissa in her Traken costume. And then fast forward a few days later, we're seeing Nissa just basically stripping off. It just, yeah, warped my mind. It didn't do out for me. I'm going to have to say nothing against Sarah Sutton at all. The reason in the story why Nissa took her skirt off was because she was getting hot and feverish and she was just trying to remove some clothing. And also apparently her stomach was also hurting. So that was the sort of story reason. The official reason that was also being given is fan service and one for the dads for, oh, it just makes me feel dirty. It's just, no, we don't need to do that for these characters, especially Nissa. Especially with this being the last story for Sarah Sutton, aka Nissa. And yeah, I thought Nissa had at least a bit of oomph about her. It was a little bit mismatched throughout the story. 1 minute she was taking on the guards, next minute she was screaming her head off at the Garm, and I just don't see Nissa as a character being that frightened and screamy, and they kept trying to jab that into her character. I remember that in Time Flight as well. But no, Nissa is just this clever sort of scientist, a really good sort of neutral balance between the sort of boisterous and sometimes stubborn Doctor, as well as the fiery Tegan, and she was kind of like that neutral balance for the two. And again, when it became at the end of part 4 for Nissa's goodbye, I like that they had that nice little trio moment, that one last moment for Nissa. And again, just watching the DVD documentary of Sarah's departure, they basically didn't want to renew her contract and said basically your time is up. And I thought that was really sad for her. And you saw that on the TV, on the episode, there were real tears there. And yeah, it was a sad departure. Probably not like my most heartbreaking departure, but heartbreaking for her because I've done amateur dramatics, and to do a show from like start to finish over like a course of 3 months, and then once it's the last show, you do have that moment of now what do I do, and it just throws you completely. So I totally sympathize with Sarah at that juncture of her career. I'll quickly talk about the effects as well, because for the full Black Guardian trilogy, for the DVD versions, they did enhance all the effects for the 3-part stories, which did look impressive. If you are watching it on BritBox, however, it is just the original transmitted version of the stories. And for this story, I thought the effects, I'll start with the original ones first, did look quite good in most cases. Terminus does look like a big plastic crate in space for me. Didn't really like the design of that one. I did like the shot with the pirates' spaceship flying away from Terminus when the pirates were still on board. Thought that looked like a pretty good shot, and I thought, like I said, most of the effects kind of hold up for this story. I don't think it's like underwhelming or disappointing. The special effects on the DVD version, though, is impressive as well, and just kind of doesn't detract from the story. Doesn't it enhances it to a certain degree. I thought the look of Terminus is way better, way better, and it just shows the larger scale as well as the ship that docks into Terminus as well. I think this story's downfall, though, is the overstuffed subplots. It just basically starts to buckle under its own weight with all the different plot elements and just other elements that they're throwing there, like the that Terminus could have been the start of the Big Bang. It's very Doctor Who, but it just, after all the other build up to surrounding the rest of the players and the characters and the story, it's just that kind of 1 2 5. It's like putting it on Buckaroo and then it just all explodes. Especially the fourth part, it just kind of just doesn't quite execute as much as it wanted to do. It just got a bit too ambitious with its story plot beats. Thought the first episode was the strongest out of the 4 episodes. Not to say that anything's, it's boring or anything like that, but I thought out of the episodes, episode 1 was the strongest, had a really good strong cliffhanger to the end as well. I'm going to give Terminus a TARDIS rating of 6.5 out of 10. It's not a terrible story by any stretch of the imagination. Again, explained on the DVD documentary, there is a lot of issues behind the scenes which kind of could have affected the story's output as well. There was a lot of production issues going on in this story, very similar to Warriors of the Deep. But I feel that comparing it to Warriors of the Deep, I thought how they managed to get something out and produced for Terminus, I thought they did a good job under the amounts of pressure and strain that this story was under. Like I said, I think for Sarah, for Nissa, could have been a better exit, but it hasn't been a terrible exit either. Way better than, say, Dodo's or even Vicky's exit or companion exits, shall I say. Just kind of felt a little bit mismatched and rushed because Nissa and the Doctor alone, I know we've seen that in Big Finish Audio, more notably Spare Parts, was a really good dynamic and companion and friendship. And I do feel that Sarah kind of just got pushed out of the way, especially when they didn't renew her contract. Performances from the main cast is pretty good, pretty solid. Max Dixon really bringing Turlo into his own, and especially Peter Davison. He really injects a lot of enthusiasm for this story and all of his performances. Really, even if the story is a bit on the poor side, he doesn't underwhelm it or doesn't phone it in at all. With the surrounding cast, and I'm not going to name names, so I don't think it's fair. Some really do a good job, and others just miss the mark for me. I think it's quite hard when you're a guest star coming into Doctor Who, especially in classic Doctor Who. You either got that factor of able to perform, make it your own, and just dive into this world of Doctor Who, or you can't and you start to sink, and the only thing you do is just go for your gut instincts, but not, it's difficult really to sort of get into it and just try and do your best, but in the end it just even still looks like you're kind of phoning it in a bit or just sort of hamming it up. But yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a mixed bag of acting and performances in this story. But I think the real downfall, like I said earlier, is the subplot and the story. I think is a good effort for Stephen Gallagher. I thought he did a really good job. He brought in a lot of good ideas, but I think it was just one idea too many. And like I said, it just buckles under its own weight when you compare it to Mordrin Undead and the next following story, Enlightenment. It just feels at the end, and there is still some good stuff to be had here, so I do recommend that you watch it, but it definitely does feel a middling part story to a trilogy. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts to Terminus. Do you agree with my opinion, or do you think this is your favourite out of the Black Guardian trilogy? And also, was you sad to see Nyssa leave at the end of this story? Next time on Timey Wimey Review will be the concluding part of the Black Guardian trilogy, Enlightenment. Until then, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the cloister bell for more notifications. Come say hello and follow me on Twitter at ReviewTimey and also on TikTok at Timey Wimey Review. And do check out my other videos from the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. And as a good doctor, no, as the Black Guardian once said, kill the Doctor!